Alright, this is, we're going to remove this processor and heatsink and put it back in there. So as soon as I get this adjusted just a little bit better. So the first thing we do is we put our anti-static bracelet on. And we're on an anti-static mat. So this is my heatsink right here. The fan sits right here. So to uninstall this particular heatsink, we got a screw over on this side and a screw over on this side. So we're just going to unscrew those screws. And let's see, it's a pretty easy process right here. This one is. Okay, now that those screws are unscrewed, this thing flips, yeah, right, up like this. And it's hooked. And so you just pull it off of that. These little hooks right here hook down here. There's one on each side. So here's your heatsink. The fans are aluminum and they dispense heat. The part that is making contact with your processor is copper, and copper is good for dispensing heat. This is your thermal compound. The thermal compound is between the processor and the heatsink. And it helps with air bubbles, and it also helps with the cooling process. So it's kind of like a paste between the two of them. So to take your processor out, you have this lever here. And you push down on the lever and kind of pull out away from the hook. And the lever comes up, releasing the pressure on the latch. You pull the latch up and you pull your processor out of there, straight up, hopefully. This processor has lands on it instead of pins. It also has two little notches here, one on this side and one on this side, that tells me how to line it up in my socket. My socket is an LGA 775 socket. This particular processor is a Core 2 dual processor. It has 4 megabytes of cache, and it has 1.86 gigahertz for your clock cycle, and a 1066 megahertz front side bus. This also comes with 2 cores and does 2 threads. The L2 cache is 4 megabytes, and the instruction set is 64-bit. So if I turn this over, I've got thermal compound on there. Now you got to clean this up before you can reinstall this little bad boy. So to do that, I have this thermal stuff. One's a cleaner and one's a purifier. And you just put it on there with cotton ball, and then you wipe it off, and it does pretty darn well. So we're gonna drip some of this on. I don't recommend doing this over your motherboard, so I'm not going to be in the picture for a minute. So I've got some on this cotton ball, but this is a pretty simple little process. So that took that off of there, and it still left a little bit on there. And now that is clean. So then you use this purifier stuff, and that helps your thermal compound stick just a little bit better. So because I don't want to put this liquid over the computer, that would be kind of dangerous. Okay, so now I've got the purifier on this cotton ball, and we're going to wipe it, and that's going to clean it up to where you, I don't know if you can see it there, but I can see the letterings on there now. So that's cleaned my processor up, and we're going to put it over here and get the heat sink out, and we're going to do another thing. Now another little trick I have found is you can take a business card or something, and you can scrape that off. And I have done that to get the excess off before I use the compound. And that is, that works too. And then you're going to put some more of this remover on here and remove that. If you don't have the remover, you know, you can use cotton balls or alcohol patches. Works. And so there, that is nice and clean now and ready to go back in. So the first thing we want to do is we grab this processor and we're going to put it in. So we're going to line up these notches. I've got a notch right here and a notch right there. So this is going to go this way to line up with those notches. Now this is LAN instead of pins, which LANs are nicer because they're flat and you don't have to worry about bending them. But the LANs do the same thing the pins do. They lay on the processor and touch the LANs on the processor and it makes its connection. So you want to go straight down, drop that in there. It's all in there, nice lined up. Then you drop your latch and you take the lever and push down on it. That pushes down on this evenly and puts even amount of force on the processor, and you put it down there and latch it. Then you want to take your good little old thermal compound that I have and put it on there, and you want to do about the size of a pea on here. You don't want too much because too much is not good, and that's probably enough, probably more than enough. So when I put the heatsink and the heatsink on there, it's going to push down on that and make that spread out. So if you get too much, it spreads too far, it gets down around the processor and into the socket itself, and it can cause fatal damage. So that's not a good thing to do. This particular heatsink does not have the fan attached. The fan is right here, and I guess that's just the way this one is. So it's all good. So there's my screws. My screw holes are right here and right here. These little things line up here. We're going to put that bad boy in there. Get all lined up. Slide that down. And this is actually one of the easier heat sinks I've ever put on or taken off. Some of them have levers that you have to latch down, and you have to actually use a screwdriver on it and apply force. Those are not my favorite ones because you can slip with the screwdriver. It's too easy to slip with the screwdriver that you have to use to put the force on. Alright, so there you have that. Is all nice and secure and set. And I wanted to show you this. This is a heatsink out of the other computer that I was working on. This is an example of way too much thermal grease or thermal compound, whatever you want to call it, because it's called the same, they use that name for it, both names for it. So you can see where it's spread, and you can see the edges of the processor on that. So you know that that motherboard is pretty much dead because I can't get the processor out of it. So yes, I have done too much thermal grease. It is not cool. So here you have the same copper running. These copper tubes go through, and they also cool your heat sink, which is aluminum. You have the fans, and this has the fan attached right to it, and this has a lever that hooks onto the socket itself. This hooks to one side, and then you pull the lever down and hook it to the other side and latch the lever. So there's that one. Okay, that's what I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.